everyone. Welcome to the podcast. I'm here today with Chris Nicholson. Once again, we're talking about Better Call Saul, season 6, episode 11, called Breaking Bad. Not very subtle. Chris, what do you think?
Well, I thought it was an improvement on the last episode, so I'm partly satisfied. I still wanted a bit more. You told me it was a good episode, so you might have liked it a little better than I did. I'm still kind of withholding judgment. I still need to see what's coming next to really figure out what I think of this end. So far, I'm not terribly satisfied with the way this show is ending, honestly. And like to kind of boil it down into a nutshell, I think one of the strengths of the show, one of the strengths of both shows, has always been the characters. And I feel like they kind of outsmarted themselves by getting rid of almost all the characters and then continuing the show. I mean, the interactions are gone. The characters we liked following are gone.
Yeah.
And so now we've got, as you said the last week, now we've got the Gene Show, apparently.
Yeah. Well, we do have Breaking Bad. We do have Breaking Bad 2, which is in color, while the everything else is in everything else is in black and white. So the present is in black and white. The past is in color. I mean, I think the one interesting thing is, so we talked about it last week, and we had some, sort of predictions and sort of agreements and disagreements. You were right that we weren't done with Jeff. The way you thought Jeff would stay was, I think it's interesting to look at the contrast with what actually happened, because you thought that it would be like Jeff is going to do crime again. No, Jeff actually wanted to stick with the bargain and go away. But Jimmy did not. Jimmy wanted to come back, and he wanted to do other stuff. He does this, this thing where they befriend guys at bars, lose bets to them, and then break into their houses to steal their identities. I just love how it's like sort of becoming a the whole thing is becoming sort of it's devolving into like a little bit of a parody of itself. I think the last week with the seducing the woman and the old woman in the wheelchair to get to Jeff, I thought was a little bit far-fetched, a little bit jumping the shark. I thought this was like a little bit that too. Like, I just love, but I like it at the same time. I like watching Jimmy in the bar. He's like, oh no, man, you always win, I always lose. Like, I love when he does this like innocent stupid loser act, and like these guys, like these these fat guys, like just full of himself, and like, okay, so like all this is to like get the cab driver to home, have them pass out, and then steal the tax. What if they don't have their tax return? What if it's on like TurboTax or something?
Yeah, dude, I was wondering that, and like, what if they don't conveniently have all their passwords written down in an obvious place? Like, what if they just memorize their passwords? What happens to this grand plot then?
Yeah, I guess you find what you can. I don't know how identity theft works. I don't know exactly what you do. I don't know like how important the tax return is. I don't know like exactly what you do with that, but you can't do with other things. I don't know how much you get for each one of these guys. I think if you have enough information, I guess you can get anything, I guess, but you have to have a lot of information. Like, they would probably need like mother's maiden name, right? They would need like stuff like that they're not going
right. Right. I mean, what happens to this grand plan if they enter the ID, they enter the password, and then it's like, what was the name of your first pet?
Yeah.
What happens?
and so it was like, at the beginning, you're like, what if they have family or something? He's like, oh no. And like at the end, like Jimmy explains, like, oh no, I had to work hard to find these guys who, conveniently don't have families or anything, and that are living alone but have money. And so that's like, that's his other thing. But okay, I like it. Okay. It's like, I feel like the way I felt about the send off for Breaking Bad. I thought it sort of jumped the shark at the end with when Walt made that like contraption like out of his car and shot all the Nazis, and like I was able to tackle Jesse at the right moment. But I was like, okay, the show is so cool. Like that just like is the last like Superman thing that like Walt did, and it's like the finale. This is like these schemes are like more ridiculous than they were before. So I'm okay with that. I guess I'm okay with that. But psychologically, I like what it's doing here, because you're seeing you're seeing you're seeing Jimmy. Okay, well, first of all, we don't like why like so there's a big mystery. He calls Kim. He tries to call Kim. He calls. She's working at a sprinkler place in Florida, I guess, or like that's where he thinks she is.
It has
Uh,
something to do with waterworks. I mean,
yeah,
I guess that's the title of the next episode, waterworks.
is it?
Yeah, I think
How,
so.
how do we know that? Because I was looking up breaking the title for this one up until the day, and I couldn't find it.
Oh, well, I just saw it online somewhere. And by the way, I did not spoil myself, so I can't spoil you on this.
Mm.
But apparently, in the German dub of the phone booth scene where he's calling who we think is Kim, apparently in the German dub, the audio of the other end of the line is audible. So whoever has listened to that knows a lot more about what's going on.
No shit, huh? And it has it's not just like I don't know why they would have like an actual like why would they have actual like I thought it's just like they would just show them in the phone booth and then they would right. I mean it's not supposed to be decipherable. Like it's not supposed to be like you go after it like it's like the Zodiac killer or something. It's just supposed to be it's a show, right? So why would they?
I don't know. Maybe it just makes it easier to do the acting if they're actually having the conversation.
Yeah, I don't know. And so but then whoever's dubbing the German actually has the so gets that script. Like there's a script and then it goes to the German dubbers and they're not aware of it. That's interesting. So you didn't spoil it for yourself, but do you know if it's like actually significant? Do you learn a lot?
Well, I mean, all I saw is that the person who was talking about it said there's heavy spoilers in here, and so I
Oh
didn't look.
wow. Okay, so I'm not going to read any of the comments for when we release this. I'm not going to read any comments on the Substack. I'm not going to read any comments on the YouTube for the possibility that uh someone knows about the German subtitles. That's funny. I'm glad I don't hang around on these like forums and stuff.
But by the way, there was one Substack commenter who correctly called the loose end that this episode. I
Yes.
were just talking about that before the episode aired.
Yeah.
It was the Francesca call.
Yes. So on the okay, so I wasn't sure. I didn't know about the date. So I know that okay, Francesca got the call. I assumed that all this Gene stuff is like I thought it was like he was gonna call her like the next day or something. This was apparently months and months or years into the future when he was telling her I'm gonna call you.
Well, I don't think it would be years. I think it would be a matter of months
Mm.
because back in the scene where he told her to expect a call, he said like, "Oh, on this date in November, I'm going to call,"
Mm.
and so it was the coming November.
I see. Okay. That makes okay. Um Yeah. Okay. And so, I mean, the scene is, I mean, interesting because it's, I mean, like we don't like. I mean, I guess the Germans they ruined the show for everyone in Germany. That's amazing. So you said the dub, not the subtitles. It's dubbed, and they're actually that is nuts. How do they make them? Okay. Well, anyways, so like we don't know what was going on. So this is like interesting. What do you think happened? Like he had like he could okay, so the possibilities are he got to Kim and she doesn't want to see him or something. He wants to see her, she doesn't want to see him. Or he doesn't get to Kim, he gets to like the I don't know, her employer or whoever. I guess those are the only two possibilities. I don't think he'd get that mad at the employer. I think he would have a trick to get past the employer and get to her, right? I think he would. That would be pretty.
Right, right.
Yeah. So he was probably talking to Kim, I think, unless there's
Oh, I guess he could have been talking to Kim's new husband. That could explain the
oh,
anger.
could have been talking to Kim's kids. He could have yelled at Kim's husband. He could have talked to Kim. He could have talked to. Okay, well that was her work though. I mean, unless they work together.
Yeah, yeah. And this scene, I don't know what significance, if any, this has, but it seemed kind of like a deliberate callback to the moment early on when Jimmy's working in the mailroom at HHM, and he's just past the bar having the little party. Then Howard comes in and gives them a really disappointing talk But for that, the camera zooms out, and so we don't get to actually hear what Howard is telling him. We only get to see Jimmy's disappointed reaction. Seems like they were doing the same kind of thing here.
Yeah. Although I think that one it wasn't a surprise. It wasn't like we were supposed to be wondering what's going on. For that one,
Right.
I think we pretty much knew what was happening, and we were there wasn't a mystery there.
Yeah.
But Jimmy is so he's angry, and this is when he goes back and starts doing this identity fraud. Now, why does he do this identity fraud? Is he gonna? You know what I thought was gonna happen when he says go get the barbiturates? I thought he was gonna like take these men hostage, go to Kim, and be like, I'm gonna kill these guys. That's what I thought. Like, why is he getting barbiturates now and meeting guys at bars? That's what I thought he was gonna do. He was somehow gonna get a man, and then I thought maybe a collection of men, and then just threatened to kill them all unless they talk to him. But
that's funny, but I don't have a good idea of how this all fits together. It does seem like clearly this scheme with the identity theft and the bars, it seems like this is clearly a reaction to that frustrating conversation he had on the phone with probably Kim. Now, how does it fit together? Let me tell you a little thing that kind of bothers
No, but the idea that it's Kim, it was the argument was too fat. Like, be like, oh, how are? It'd be like, it seems like it was too quick. I mean, I don't know. Unless she was like, Jimmy, I never want to see you again. Unless it was like that. Okay, I guess that makes sense. But go ahead. Yeah, you were going to say something interesting.
Well, the thing that kind of sticks out to me a little bit is that he uses the same fake name Victor each time he scams somebody in a bar. And to me, I'm not a con artist personally, but I think maybe it's one of the rules of the trade that you don't use the exact same name each time when you're running the same scam.
So did he do did we see him call himself Victor in more than one? Because he used Victor in the old episodes, right?
Well, I don't know if he's used it before, but I know that in this episode...
No, Victor and Giselle. I think those were their names when they used to scam people in the early seasons.
Really?
Yeah. She would be. Remember Giselle? Remember Kim would be Giselle? Remember that stockbroker? And they pretended to be brother and sister, and like they got him to, they scammed him out of like this big dinner and like these.
I remember that. I just didn't remember that he used the name Victor.
Yeah. He was Victor there. So that's his log. So MO, but he's using Victor. He's using Victor in more than one place. Like I guess he's staying in the Nebraska, Omaha area, right? When he's doing this stuff. You're right. I mean, how many local bars that are within the driving distance of this cab driver who have guys drinking by themselves who are rich suckers with nobody at home? Like, how many people is that? It's just
look, so I know that there are definitely multiple times in the episode where Jimmy tells different marks that his name is Victor.
Okay. I believe you. Yeah.
Now it could be that maybe it's just that there are only so many bars he can go to, and that because he's seeing the same bartenders, maybe that's why he has to keep using the same name. But still, that doesn't seem perfectly coherent to me. I don't know. It just seems like you would want, if you didn't want to get caught, you'd want to use a different name.
Is he in the same bar every night?
I don't think. No, definitely not the same every time. I mean, first he's doing karaoke in that one bar, and then he's at the fancier one later when he's talking to the guy with cancer.
The guy with cancer. I think I thought the guy with cancer and the karaoke, I thought they were the same one because they go back to a bar. They're at a bar afterwards, and I thought they were similar or the same. So he might be going to the same place because he says like they don't know till months in the future, right? Yeah. So I guess he could scam them. They're not going to find out that. So he could see the same guy at the bar several nights in a row, and that wouldn't, I guess, make anyone suspicious. They'll be like, that's my buddy Victor. Okay. Yeah. And so, I mean, did you have a larger point on that?
Well, I'm just wondering if part of the larger plot is that maybe he wants to get caught for some reason. Maybe he wants to get caught, and this plays some role into him trying to get back to Kim somehow. But
Oh,
I don't really know
well,
how it would fit together.
this is one explanation for what happens at the end when the guy is the guy with the cancer, and he tells him to go anyway, and then Jeff at the end is like, Jeff, who's usually not a genius, tells him, the drugs probably wore off by now. And then he goes in there, and then he, at the end, he breaks the window, and he really wants to screw this guy with cancer. He's not gonna let it go. Yeah, my interpretation. So that was
Yeah. So here's go on. So here's my big question about this. I think you have the same question. What is Jimmy really trying to get out of this identity theft scam? Because I don't think that it's just about making the money.
No, I never.
I guess the greater possibility right now would be that this is just his chosen method of self-destruction. But even that doesn't seem quite right. It seems like this is part of some larger plot that involves Kim and getting back to her somehow.
Yeah, maybe maybe that's what wins her over. She loves a good scam. Becomes more elaborate. It's like his like major romantic gesture. It's like she is a girl who's just a sucker for scams, and that's somehow gonna win her over. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, maybe it's actually kind of really manipulative. Maybe she told him that she wants nothing to do with him, and he remembers that Kim always came to his rescue whenever she was his only option.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the play here.
Yeah, when she likes taking the cause of criminal defendants, and he can just become another criminal defendant.
Maybe Jimmy's putting himself in a position where she's his only hope, and so she has to face a decision. Either I really do have nothing more to do with Jimmy, and then he's just screwed, or I come to the rescue once again.
What was the motivation, the impetus to call Kim? Was it the Francesca call?
Yeah, that was pretty much it. He was like, she asked about me.
Yeah, that's right. Kim calls Francesca. Yeah, and then like she tells Jimmy, and then he's like, "Oh, she asked about me." So he hasn't seen Kim. This is not a few months. This is 3 years, 2 or 3 years now. That's important.
Several years, I think.
Yeah. Well, Breaking Bad, we hear, only takes place in 2 years, and this is a few months after Breaking Bad. So it's So it's like 2.5 years or something. Okay. So I thought the screwing over the cancer guy part. I think this is our way. Like Jimmy, I didn't think it was self-destructive, though. Maybe that's possible. That makes sense. It seemed to me like he really is like sort of broken and hateful towards the world, and he hates like the idea of himself having any compassion. So when this guy has cancer, like he feels bad for a moment, but then he really wants to screw over that cancer guy, and he also wants to just look. He says to Jeff and his brother, they all have sob stories. Like he has this part of him that has just contempt for like normies and normal sort of morality. I always go back. I love that place where he tries to get the job at the printer shop, and then they try to hire him, and then he goes and has his friend rob them for their Hummel. When he goes back and he gives them this whole spiel too, like you guys are, I feel sorry, like you were just gonna hire me, I could be a murderer, I feel sorry for you. And so that harkened back to that. It's like this Jeff guy and his brother are like too soft-hearted, and Jimmy is not. So he takes like pride in his criminal sort of craft. And we talk about like, is he a good guy? Like he has some parts of some aspects of his personality that are good, but like there's also a part of him that like just hates suckers and hates weakness, and this is why he hates his dad too. He's always like, everyone in the town's laughing at my dad because everyone comes at him with a sob story. He doesn't want to be that guy. He doesn't want to be somebody who's taken advantage of. He wants to be cold-hearted, and he wants to be pragmatic and do what's best for him, and that leads him to be too eager to screw over this cancer guy, right? When would have made sense at that point to let it go. Do you buy this? Because your thing makes sense too. The self-destructive thing also makes sense, and maybe they're not contradictory. Maybe they're both at play.
Yeah, I think there could be elements of truth to both. I think that whatever the larger plot is, there's an element of self-destruction to all this.
Yeah.
And I think that whatever good stuff Jimmy had at the beginning of the show, there's not very much of it left.
Yeah.
I was hoping that the show would kind of go in the other direction, but it seems to have made a decision. Like, nope, Jimmy is just going to continue his decline. There's not going to be any kind of, well, it seems like there's not going to be any kind of happy ending, basically. It's just another tragedy.
No, it was. I thought that it had to be like this because Jimmy, all he has now at this point is he wants to be, he wants to be somebody important. He likes, he's chasing a thrill, and like he has nothing now except his wits, except his ability to scam people. Right? He's a world class sort of he's like a craftsman here, and like he's got no money. Like they took his the fence, I guess, took his money. He might have taken he has some. We see him like stashing some at some point, so he has some cash left.
He's got diamonds.
He's got diamonds. Where's he got diamonds?
It showed us diamonds in some earlier season, I think.
Okay,
Gene has diamonds.
Yeah, I remember him putting cash away. Was that very recent? Yeah, that was one of the recent episodes, or was that before? I don't know, but at some point he has cash as Gene.
I think he's got a fair amount of cash left.
Yeah.
So I don't think he's anywhere near broke. I don't think he needs to do these scams to make money.
No, he never did. That's like one of the themes of the show. It's like Huel, when he tells him, man, why are you doing this stuff? Can't you make money? Right. As like a lawyer, like, that was like, one of those, that was one of those moments, like, salt of the earth, telling the truth to, this supposedly complicated and sophisticated guy. So self-destructive or trying to get Kim back, or just he's still chasing the thrill, or he just like he's got no hope of, he doesn't want to see Kim, or he's gonna see Kim, he's gonna somehow get to Kim, right? Right. What about the whole next episode? Just him talking to the cancer guy. The cancer guy wakes up. They sit down and like they just talk about life. That would be funny. But no, I don't think that's gonna happen. I think I'll probably get back to Kim. It's the sort of the space of what's going to happen is narrowing, right? We were just completely but it's not that narrow. I mean, it's still there's a lot we don't know. We don't know if Kim's going to be in one episode or two episodes or what. Yeah. Okay. So I mean, I think there's character development here. It's not in the positive. It's not the direction you like, but it is like he's becoming more evil. Like I think old Jimmy would have let that cancer patient go. There is that, and then just like even hanging on to Jeff, like what is his reasons for doing these? His reasons for doing these scams are becoming less plausible. Like the idea that this was the easiest way to get Jeff to shut his mouth. I don't buy that, and I don't buy whatever he's doing now. If he's trying to get it back at Kim or whatever, I don't think this can work or be the most plausible way to do that. But who knows? Maybe he'll get her back. I don't know. It's
yeah. All I really know is that, well, I think that the real end game of this identity theft scam is to get to Kim, get back to at least see or talk to Kim again somehow. I'm not sure how it will fit
or
together.
He gives up on Kim and wants to self-destruct. I mean, that's also a possibility too. And maybe he reaches Kim by accident somehow. Or maybe he doesn't. I don't know. I don't know if it's impossible to to imagine that he's it's not impossible that there's no Kim in the rest of the series. I don't know. Do you think it's possible? I think there's a small.
Well, it's possible, but I mean, I don't think it would be that interesting.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I don't know. I find this interesting. I find this slow self-destruction of Gene Interesting. You thought they weren't going to make it black and white anymore, but they did, except
I
with
hoped.
Breaking Bad. Yeah, except with
I hoped we weren't going to have too much black and white the rest of the way. I still hope that it's not going to be mostly black and white the rest of the way, but it's
yeah.
only a hope.
Yeah, I think it's looking less likely. Every black and white episode makes the future more likely to be black and white. Uh, so yeah, okay. So we got two episodes. I'm
No, man, you're overlooking the potential of the artsy, dramatic moment where they slowly shift the black and white scene into color.
yeah, yeah. I think they're going to be taking some risks here. That they are. It would have been very easy for them to sit there with. They could have kept Nacho and Lalo and these other guys to the end. They didn't do that. That was a big risk. So I think they're going to be willing to continue. And the black and white thing so far has been a risk, and introducing the Jeff guy is a risk. And so I think that we might see them become. This is the big finale. This is the finale of two important shows, right? Not just one. So they could be doing something very interesting here. They might want to go off on just a very sort of high artistic note.
I wonder if you think that there's any kind of larger point to the Breaking Bad flashbacks, because so far these flashbacks in this
Yeah.
episode have just kind of been to drive home points about character.
Yeah, I think
And
you're.
do you think that there's no larger purpose to them, or it's just to shed light on his character and to draw a few like dramatic parallels?
Yeah, I think so. I think they just want people to see, what makes us excited to see Jesse and Walt again. It's good for like sort of the history of Breaking Bad. Like you get their first night together. You see why. I remember we talked about Mike having bad judgment, or one of the commenters said that, and me and you talked about it. It's like Mike had bad. I think Mike had bad judgment again when he's actually maybe this was good judgment. He says, Walter is gonna, get shot or get caught by the DEA, but no, he succeeded as a drug dealer. But in the end, I guess Mike was right. It was bad news for Jimmy in the end. No, I don't. Yeah, I can't see any like big revelation or something that like happened like in the Breaking Bad world. I don't know. Like I don't. Like the thing is, I mean, it's hard to say because I don't remember anything about Breaking Bad really at this point. I mean, I haven't watched it in a decade, and so there's like I can't look back and say, oh, in season 3, like Jimmy and Walter had this interaction. Like I remember like the initial interaction with them, like the initial time they met, and they took him out to the desert and were going to kill him. But the but I don't know, like I don't remember much of what happens in the rest of the series. I just remember like the high points. So I don't know. There could be something in there if I like had the series on the top of my head that I could think of.
So it's showing some stuff about his character, and it's one thing it's doing is it's kind of recontextualizing Breaking Bad and telling us that really
Yes.
it was Saul's involvement that really got Walt off to become what he became.
Oh, I thought it was the opposite. I thought it was the opposite. Like we're being told that Walter is a like because the focus on the grave. Like we did at the time when we're watching this. We don't comprehend like how scary this is for Jimmy. Like what kind of bad thing this is to do. They take him out to the desert. They dig a grave. They tell him they're going to put him in there, and then the scene when they cut away from the grave, like they show like they show the grave, and then they show Gene, like I think that was sort of driving home the point that Jimmy was going to be put in that grave, like they might have done that, or he thought that they were going to do that, and then seeing Saul struggle like throughout the whole thing, and like waking up in the like we didn't get that perspective. We just see, oh, these two guys like Walt and Jesse do not seem that dangerous at that point. They haven't done anything that scary. So like we know that they're really not going to, when we're watching, so we know they're not going to kill Saul. We think they're just, they're sort of playing a prank or something, because that like we see them as sort of harmless because it's the start of their journey. But we're seeing it from Saul. We're like, no, these people were evil and bad from the very beginning. And so you say, I mean, obviously Saul was necessary for Walter to, build those. But no, Walter was really, really bad from the beginning. I think that's the point.
I think it's kind of saying both things. I think, and the grave shot is very significant. It's kind of suggesting that the die was cast for Walt and Saul the moment they teamed up, and then it was just like an inevitable, chemical reaction. The explosions and the deaths, it was all inevitable, and the grave was inevitable too the moment they teamed up. That's what it seems to be saying, and it fits with one of the first things we talked about with Breaking Bad, that the show and Better Call Saul, they seem to take a kind of fatalistic view of human nature.
I think that's right. And yeah, that's why I thought it was surprised when you thought that Jimmy would have like sort of a positive arc. I mean, Jimmy is the most, I think, of all the characters. Like, yeah, you're right. They have this sort of this deterministic view of human nature and differences between people. But I think Jimmy is like unique. I don't know. I think maybe I get the sense maybe you disagree with this. Jimmy, I think, is like more overdetermined. Like his character is more overdetermined than most people. Like Walt lived most of his life as a model citizen, right? Just a guy who was a chemistry teacher, right? So something obviously had to happen to like make him whatever age he was, 40 or 50 or 50 probably, or whatever he was when he quote unquote broke bad. Jesse has an arc. I mean, he's sort of I don't know, he develops a little bit. Gus has like this complexity. Jimmy is always a scammer, always like Kim again, another person who develops and is sort of could have gone one way and could have gone the other way. But Jimmy is not like this. I mean, Jimmy is just always a scammer, always try to take advantage of people, always, from the time he's slipping Jimmy up to the end of Saul Goodman, sort of has contempt for anyone who plays by the rules. And so that's why, when you say, oh, I thought he maybe go positive, I thought, no way, like this is a fatalistic, deterministic show. This is the most deterministic, character, the most overdetermined character as far as like, how he behaves and how he interacts with the world. And it always had to be tragic. I mean, I couldn't see it going any other way.
That was always the most likely possibility, and it seems to be playing out now. But, I had hope that maybe it would go in a different direction and that they would kind of progress beyond this fatalistic view that they've always been presenting. Because, I don't think as a work of art, I don't view it as highly as I would, because it's not throwing us any curveball when it comes to this fatalistic view that it's always been presenting. And the fatalism, I understand the point of view. I've understood the fatalistic aspect of the show for a long time. And so, honestly, I'm just becoming a bit bored by its fatalism. I'm becoming a bit bored by the show's deeply pessimistic view of human nature.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yeah, I think that's right. I just don't think that. Yeah, for Jimmy, I mean, it would be so contradictory to everything else we've seen from him, and everything else. It would be too much. I mean, this would be too much of a curveball. It's like, oh, he becomes a priest or something. I mean, it's just so like out there. It's like, you can't imagine. I mean, you have to have. You could have surprise, and you could have, like you could get, like it can get. I mean, it could get darker. I mean, he could die. I mean, it could go the opposite direction, right? He could die. He could do something terrible. He could kill Kim or her husband. I mean, there's possibilities we can imagine of like Jimmy becoming. He could like frame Kim for like something. There's possibilities of like there's possibilities in the other direction that maybe we're not even imagining, right? And so that could satisfy your urge for sort of novelty here, but I don't think it was ever going to be. I don't think it was ever going to be sort of a positive note that we were going to end this on. I mean, it gave you Jesse. I mean, you had that. I mean, you had him going off to El Camino. You had a happy ending for him, and he's a good guy, and I guess you have that. Kim might have had a happy ending, as far as we know. So it's not completely. devoid of this stuff. I mean, Gus has a happy ending because he kills all the Salamancas, which is, he values more than anything, even wine. He doesn't care. He could have, it would have been funny, like, oh, this, like the moment he killed the Salamancas, like, it would have been funny if, like, he's got this bottle of wine, he's going to go finally meet that guy. He gets blown up by Hector in the wheelchair. maybe they'll still give us that. That would be really funny. So yeah, I mean, we'll see. I thought it was weird, like how they deal with like the aging. Like this is supposed to be like a scene from like Breaking Bad, which was made the first season made like 13 or 14 years ago or something now. I thought I haven't watched Breaking Bad, a lot of Breaking Bad lately. I mean, I did go back and at some point watch the episode where the first episode where Saul Goodman arrives. By the way, it's funny that Breaking Bad episode when Saul arrives, it's called Better Call Saul. So it's a Breaking Bad episode called Better Call Saul, and then Better Call Saul episode called Breaking Bad. So yeah, I just realized that now. But I did see that, and the only person who, like, they all look older, and I don't know why they don't make young them up, but Jesse Pinkman in particular, like Jesse in Breaking Bad, it's like looks like a kid, right? And now, like, he was just so noticeably older, and then Walt and Saul, of course, were too. But with Jesse, it was just different. It sort of made me. He looks like going to, like, I don't know if he went from like 20 to 30 or something, but like that's a big difference. Seems like a much bigger difference than these guys, Odenkirk and Cranston, who are going from like 50 to 60 or whatever. But why don't they do that? I thought. Did you see The Irishman?
No, but yeah, I heard there was some good de-aging.
Yeah, they made De Niro look like 40 years, 40 years younger. I don't know why they don't do any of that in this series.
Yeah, maybe it's just really expensive.
Yeah, maybe it's expensive. It would be for Jesse and Walt, and for that like one scene. I think they could have. They could have figured it out. But yeah, I don't know. Do you think we'll get more Breaking Bad flashbacks, or was this just sort of a gimmicky Breaking Bad? They just wanted to tell us something, and that's the end of it.
No, I feel like we'll probably get a bit more. I just wonder. I mean, one reason we'll probably get a bit more is because it's only shown us a tiny bit of the beginning of Breaking Bad. I mean, it hasn't even shown us where Saul actually walks into the high school room and talks to Walt. So I feel like it's probably going to show us a bit more. But what I keep wondering is why? Is it entirely about these parallels? Like, oh, let's show you some flashbacks about how Saul is a major force in starting the old criminal empire. Let's juxtapose that with some artsy shots of him. We'll show him opening the car door to walk over and talk to Walt, and we'll juxtapose that with him opening the door to walk into the cancer patient's house. And I just start to think like, man, this show is getting too smart for me. It's too smart for me, too artsy. Because you got the real suit. I feel like it's aiming itself more toward a small subset of super fans.
That scene when he went to the school. That was the scene. Okay, I remember that scene from Breaking Bad. Okay, so that was him arriving for that scene, and then they show him breaking into the cancer patient. Okay,
you have a very small group of people who are really, really, really into the show, who are just eating all of this up.
Yeah.
Like, and the same people, like they'll see that thing like about how the title in Breaking Bad was Better Call Saul, and then the title of this episode is Breaking Bad, and they'll be like, Vince, you've done it again. And I'm just sitting there thinking like, okay, so it's a parallel. I guess that's artsy. But, I kind of enjoy the plot aspects of the shows.
Yeah, I mean, no, it's. I mean, I think that for that one, I mean, I thought the grave thing was brilliant. I explained to you my interpretation of it. I think that that one, I didn't think about much before, but I think that's pretty smart too. I mean, you're seeing Jimmy in both situations, get out of a car and make a really bad decision that's going to put him on a new path. I think that's the parallel.
Yeah. But my larger point is that right now, with these last few episodes. This feels to me like a show that is resting on its laurels too much. It feels like it's, as it heads into the ending and it's winding down, it does feel like it's kind of winding down. It feels like it's taking a reflective victory lap to focus on drawing some artsy character parallels instead of giving us thrilling character interactions and plot developments.
Well, it's going to give us some. I mean, they're not going to give us many more plot developments because there's only one plot. There aren't, plots plural. I mean, you're going to get something. Something is going to happen to Jimmy. Something is going to happen to Kim. No matter what it is, it's going to be interesting and surprising. I think you're maybe sort of you're maybe, I mean, this has been the pace of the show forever. This has always been the pace of the show. This show will do episodes and episodes where like people will stop watching this show. The people who like Breaking Bad, a lot of them I talk to, and they say, it's slow, nothing happens, because it's been like this since season 1. So maybe you're expecting here, that's going on in the last few episodes, it's going to be like Breaking Bad, where it's just like guns a blazing and all these people die and there's body counts and all these plot twists. But that's never been the show. It's been deep character development, a few important plot twists, relatively a few of them, but then just character and artsy stuff and clever sort of puns and parallels and stuff like that. I mean, that's been the show, right? It seems like it's like ending the way it's been.
Well, I didn't necessarily want gunfights, but there were there were plenty of dramatic moments throughout the show, and there were plenty of stretches of episodes in a row where the drama and the tension just increased. But here, as the show winds down, I feel like it's taking too much kind of smug satisfaction in showing us like artsy camera angles and parallels.
Yeah. I was really negative about last week's episode. I'm more positive about this week because I do think that there's been some notable development. I like the fact that we have some kind of, like, I thought it was just going to be like, I like that we know now Kim's going to be there. I thought it was just going to be him and like, being depressed in the mall in black and white, like forever. Like, at least it's not that. We got some action. I was actually, I was intrigued by what he was doing with these guys at the bars. I thought the guy thing with the cancer guy, I mean, I thought that was, look, it was in a way a sort of a new low for Jimmy. I mean, there's like, he's always been bad, but this is like, I think it's opposite, like the opposite of what the arc you were hoping for. But that's, I'm fine with it becoming sort of more negative. I mean, there's when I talked to Mark Andreessen, he sort of thinks it's sort of too, I brought up like, I said something like, Mike is a good guy. And he brought up like, no, it's like too like optimistic about these criminals, which I think is from an objective perspective true. It's like, no, Mike is, a criminal and a murderer and, a bad guy, and he has a code, and me and you like sit there and we were dissecting, and his perspective was like, no, these are just from a like a objective perspective. Like, if you take a step back from the art and your enjoyment of it and sort of the relative way we judge these people, because we judge them relative to other criminals, like, no, Mike, Jimmy, bad, these are all terrible terrible people. And I feel like it's maybe that's a good interpretation, and it's sort of showing us. I mean, it's sort of showing us that it's showing us them getting there, and it's showing that, like in the case of Walt, with the kidnapping, that they were sort of like always there from that perspective. And so, yeah, I like this episode. I thought we started getting sort of some clarity about where this is going, both morally and sort of plot wise. I did think there was development here. I didn't like the episode, but I
don't deny that there was some plot development here, and there are some hints we haven't talked about yet about where it's going. I just didn't I don't like. There's a couple different things I don't like. On the character level, I just don't like that it seems to be finishing the show by continuing with the same old fatalism that it's had ever since Breaking Bad. I mean, to me, I'm like, I already knew that. I'm just seeing a particular way of the same old theme playing out, and it's not terribly interesting to see that because I already knew it. And then on another level, I think that it's spending a lot of its time just drawing parallels that the fans of fans, that the super fans will really appreciate, but it seems to be aimed mostly at pleasing the super fans.
Did you read Freddie deBoer's thing about against? It was an essay like against nostalgia or something. It was about all the art. He was argument was like all art has become like this, where it's like he was talking about Stranger Things, which I never watched, but apparently like keeps referencing '80s things, and it's supposed to make you feel cool.
I didn't see that particular piece, but I think I could sympathize with it.
Yeah. So your critique sounds like that. Um, it's all, but you're acting like they're doing this parallel thing, like they're doing it like every episode. I mean, it's just, what you got a few of them in this episode. I think you're.
I mean, it's like it just feels kind of cheap and lazy to me to say, oh guys, won't you love it if we show you Walt and Jesse again? Remember Walt? Remember Jesse? You like them, right? Look, here they are again.
You sound exactly like Freddie.
The old days.
You sound like Freddie. Yeah, you sound like Freddie deBoer. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I agree that could have been how they did it, but no, for the reasons we talked about, I do think that Jesse and Walt had a purpose here. Like I think, it's like we didn't need to see like, like it was, I don't think it added much where it was like, oh, I see Saul tells Mike, oh, I see something, in him. And then Mike gives his opinion about Walter. I don't think that was important, but I do think like revolving around how Jimmy feels while he's being kidnapped. I think and like showing it from his perspective was I think a cool sort of new way of looking at something that I had seen completely different. I had seen this as like a comedy, like when they kidnapped him the first time and took him out to the desert and like dug the grave for him. But objectively, that's not what it was like. It must have been much worse. So I think there's
right, and it shows us it contextualizes that from the perspective of knowing who Lalo is now.
Yes, exactly. That's great. Yeah, he was telling him it's Ignacio. Oh, you see him telling him to go kill Nacho, which is also funny. Yeah, you remember that. Yeah, that's good. So yeah, I don't know. That satisfies me. But you wanted, I don't know, something else from Walter or not to see them.
I would like it. If I'm fine with it if they keep doing these flashbacks to Breaking Bad. Like, yeah, Walt, cool guy, nice character. Jesse, also a nice character.
They're not going to do that. Look, I don't think they're not going to just do this and like have little lessons. Either they're going to stop with the Breaking Bad stuff, or it's going to have a tie-in, some tie-in.
I would like. All I'm saying is that I would like there to be a plot payoff to all of these flashbacks, and not simply a character contextualization payoff.
Yeah, I'm fine with it if it ends here. If it ends here and I got the context that I thought was interesting and cool, fine. If they just do another thing where it's just giving you character crumbs and like to figure it out and then like and no plot, then I would be maybe a little bit more on your side. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, there's no one right way to appreciate a show or fail to appreciate a show. I'm just personally a bit disappointed by the choices it's making, because they just personally don't interest me that much in some ways, so far at least. Yeah. I'm still holding out hope that they can surprise me.
Yeah, I mean, and what's wrong with resting your laurels a little bit in the sense that like you're sort of tying up loose ends, right? You're like saying like, okay, you're sort of painting the picture. Like, okay, all the like maybe the way to look at this is like all the action stuff has ended. The fate of Nacho, the fate of all these other people. You have Jimmy and Kim, obviously. But the action is behind us. We're just gonna have to sort of accept that. And now it's like, okay, so what was going on in that, in that RV, like all those, years ago? What was, what's Jimmy's real character like? What is his real, what is, what's Kim like? Are we gonna get some final verdict on what kind of person Kim is? We're gonna get some. It's like maybe that's okay. Maybe like it's just like we have this picture, we have all the action, and now we're getting sort of the. We're getting sort of the commentary. Like this is sort of
but most shows do that by just having some kind of after show where the actors are sitting on a couch.
Yeah, well, this is better. Well, they do have that after
on the couch, and they decided to just film it and have the characters do all that instead.
Yeah. Well, I think it's cooler that way. I mean, did you ever watch? They did have a show, by the way, like that. I've seen a few episodes. Talking Saul. Have you ever watched this?
No, no, I haven't watched it.
But
I guess they're forcing me to watch it now.
you know, do you know of it? Have
Yeah.
you heard of it? Yeah. So I mean, I've seen it, and it's never that I've never seen Vince Gilligan. I saw Peter Gould on there once. I've never seen Gilligan. I don't know if he's like they've done it like intermittently. They did it like the first season. I've seen it this season. I don't know if they how often they've done it, but they haven't done it a lot. And you know, the characters usually are. I haven't found anything that is that like you know our interpretations are much more interesting than the ones they get for you know that I've seen on there. Although that idea that I told you that one idea that the Walt wants the difference between Jimmy and Walt is Walt wants to be respected, Jimmy wants to be liked. That came from Peter Gould. He brought that up on the things. I'm like, oh man, you know, Peter Gould obviously would have some insights here. But the point is, this Talking Saul show, they're not what I'm trying to say. They're not putting all their cards on the table. They're like it's not like they're feeding it to you. So like even if you watch that, it's not like it would be the same thing as this. So yeah, I mean, for me, what happens to Jimmy, what happens to Kim, that's I don't expect a lot of twists and actions because there's no more characters. There can't be like it's just to me it's already baked in. It's baked into the price. I'm not disappointed. Well, you were, you know, seems to be like, yeah, I don't know like exactly how you thought it would work. Like a lot of character twists and this other stuff without, you know, without characters.
I was hoping they would surprise me, and so far they haven't.
Yeah, you were just the magic. Like they were just going to surprise you there.
I still have, you know, it's a Bayesian degrees of belief thing. I still have some hope they'll surprise me,
Okay.
but it's just decreasing. Now, but we still haven't talked about where kind of some parts of the plot are headed.
Okay, go ahead.
The episode gave us some hints that Marion is kind of putting it together that Gene is not on the level.
Who's Marion? The woman. Yeah, right.
The episode kind of gave us two moments where it showed something going on with her. There was one small moment early on where Gene's at her house. She's like, he's looking at videos on the laptop or something with her, and then he's like, "Oh, after I pour these drinks, why don't me and Jeff go do guy stuff around the car with our drinks, and you can drink yours alone. You can drink yours alone back here."
Yeah.
And then she's like, "Oh, okay." And you can see her thinking, "What's the deal? I thought this guy Gene was my friend. I thought that he seems to somehow be more associated with my son now than me, but he only met my son through me, and so why is he ditching me?" And you see her thinking about that, and then later on toward the end of the episode, you see her. Then there's like the significant moment where the dog barks. The dog somehow is very well behaved when it's in the middle of a robbery, but it's barking a lot uncontrollably on that occasion.
Wait, what was the barking thing? What are you talking about?
So Gene he's going over to Jeff's house to talk to his partners because they're trying to call off the robbery of the cancer patient. And then the dog barks. Marion looks out and she sees Gene and Jeff, and she sees them going back into the garage.
I thought those were the same scene. I thought that he like says, "Stay here, have your drink." Oh no, that was the beginning. That was the beginning when they I see. And the dog barks. Okay. So the dog and then she's looking at okay, so that was the I see. So that was when he surprised Jeff by
and she's got this new laptop, and so it seems possible that somehow she'll use the laptop to do some digging into Gene.
Yes.
And so maybe she could be kind of the loose end
that's a good point. Yeah, I don't think she's like going to be a computer whiz and figure it out. I mean, she's going to have to. She doesn't know anything about computers, so Gene is presumably has figured this stuff out. Like he's taking precautions. So
I think that one of the things that's going on with her character is that basically she's kind of smarter and stronger willed than Gene thinks, and that is going to come back to bite him. Because he thinks that she's just some kind of like doddering old lady who barely knows what's going on. But remember, when the show first introduces us to Marion's character back in Nippy, it kind of gives us this extended scene following her interactions in this grocery store before she even encounters Gene. And kind of part of the message it seems to be driving home to us is that she's like a strong-willed, independent woman who thinks for herself and acts for herself. And I think that Gene doesn't see that side of her.
Yeah.
He underestimates her, basically. And so I think that will be his undoing.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's very good. The other the other thing, the other thing it ties back to is your sort of idea about the self-destructiveness. Because when I was taken aback when he says, "Oh, you have your drink, we're gonna go do that." Like, that's not the old Saul. He's much smoother than that. He's very good at dealing with old people, but he just blows her off in a sort of a very sort of over the top, sort of rude, dismissive way. And is this just him being self-destructive again, just like not caring if he gets caught, and not sort of not taking the proper precautions, and not satisfying everyone's and maybe this Victor thing is also like that too. It's just he's becoming sloppy.
He does seem to be becoming sloppy in various ways.
Yeah. So I think that's the self-destructive thing. I think this is important. And how she foils him, I don't know. Like, I don't think she's going to become like some great, obviously he's like, she can't just look up Gene. She doesn't know she doesn't know anything. She doesn't even know how to Google. Like, she just learned how to find cat videos. Right?
Well, she does know how to Google. Like, the one thing she knows is how to Google.
Yeah. And so she Googles Gene. But Gene can't be like the vacuum cleaner guy can't be so bad that like an old woman Googles your name and then like your whole plot is exposed. So there has to be some, she has to see something or hear something or do something. But I understand that's the laptop will probably factor in. Somehow. You're right. Okay. Yeah. Do you see any other sort of indications of where this might be going?
No, that was my main thing. That Marion is going to be key to it, and the fact that she's smarter and stronger than Gene believes. That's the one thing I'm pretty sure of.
Mm-hmm. Is Francesca done? Well, how did they end the conversation? You just said, oh well, bye. It was just like that.
Well, yeah. I mean, he was like, well, guess that this is goodbye, and then she hangs up immediately.
Yeah. Okay. So we're not gonna see her again. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I like that we disagree. I like that we we disagree a lot, but we used to disagree just on what we thought was going to happen. Now we're disagreeing on sentiment.
We're disagreeing on kind of the quality.
Yeah, exactly. So that's cool. That we have a lot to sort of explore, and we're sort of seeing, our ideas are sort of developing, about the show in real time, week to week. So, okay, cool. What is your what's your best case scenario for the next episode? And what's your what's your worst case scenario?
My best case scenario is that this is where it ramps everything up. My best case scenario is that it continues the Breaking Bad flashbacks, but it introduces some plot angle to their importance instead of merely character elements. And also that Kim comes back, and we see how this identity theft scam has been all about forcing Kim back into his life somehow.
Yeah,
and somehow that's tied together. I mean, in the best of all worlds, somehow that would be tied together with a plot payoff to these Breaking Bad flashbacks.
And what's the bad scenario?
The bad scenario is that we get more Breaking Bad flashbacks, but it's still just about showing us how like the rise of that criminal empire and fall parallels the rise of this criminal empire and fall, and it all ties into this darker fatalistic theme about how man is a craven fallen beast who cannot overcome his deficiencies. Ever since Adam and Eve bit into the apple, the original sin was just playing out all that stuff. I don't need that.
Okay. Yeah, I think I would be okay with that. the because I'm trying to imagine your ideal scenario. I'm even trying to even imagine what it would look like. And it's hard. I mean, like, so it's like, I guess, Gene going to jail would be like, whether he's going to get caught, I think is interesting. What happens to Kim? How Kim reacts to him? I guess there's places here for plot twists, right? It might, and you're right, it might be ramping up to it. This is setting the scene. I thought last week was sort of clearing their palate. I thought they were going to get rid of Jeff, but no, they're still there. But it was more about establishing sort of Gene and Gene's universe at this point. And this one is like telling us, okay, Kim is out there. Kim exists. He's wants to go find her. And he's on this path, and now we've seen this development with this Miriam woman, and there's something. So I think I think it is leading up to something. So I don't know. I think he'll be happy. I think we'll both be happy. I trust these guys.
I've still got some hope.
Yeah, I mean, everything has to be judged, and like it's often with these shows, a lot of these things have to be judged in the context, like things put things that happen in the future, put things that happen in the past in perspective. So yeah, I guess we'll pick it up next week. Is there anything else? Any other plot lines? Anything else you want to flag before we go?
No, nothing is really jumping out at me.
Okay, then. All right. Until next week, Chris.
All right. I'll see you next week.